Welcome to the Fit Chicks and Hormones podcast, where I share my insight to help you move through your perimenopause and menopausal years with ease. In this podcast, I talk about natural solutions for balancing your hormones and empowering you to move away from the symptoms like fatigue, mood swings, hot flashes, and resistant weight loss to feeling vibrant, confident, and full of energy as you age gracefully. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fit Chicks and Hormones podcast. So, today, I want to talk about protein. I want to talk about why it's important in perimenopause and postmenopause, how it supports your muscle and fat loss, and how to make sure you're getting enough, because I find that that's the biggest thing that a lot of my clients struggle with is getting enough protein. Okay, so if you're in menopause, you may have noticed that some different changes in your body, right? It's harder to lose weight. You have more belly fat, and you aren't as tight as you once were. Well, it's because protein plays a crucial role in all of these areas. As we move through perimenopause, postmenopause, our body's natural processes change, and one big change is the loss of muscle mass. The decline in estrogen is also causing muscle mass loss. So, not only do you need to focus on eating enough protein, you need to focus on strength building as well and muscle building. So here's a little fact. After the age of 30, we begin to lose muscle mass at the rate of about 3 to 8% per decade. That is huge. This process is gradual, but it tends to accelerate after the age of 60. By the time we reach our 70s and beyond, we can lose as much as 20% or more of total muscle mass. And this is something known as sarcopenia. Maybe you've heard of this, right? This is something we want to avoid, right? Because when this is happening, then we become old and frail and we fall and break things. And that's not what we want to have happen. So, in addition to eating protein, like I mentioned, you need to do strength training. And that is these two things together is the most effective way to help fight this process of sarcopenia and muscle loss. Regular strength training exercises such as lifting weights, you can do body weight exercises or resistance band work, whatever you have to stimulate muscle growth is going to help preserve your muscle. When you challenge your muscles by lifting weights or doing resistance exercises, you create small tears in muscle fibers, which then rebuild stronger and bigger with the right nutrition and recovery. So again, these two go hand in hand. Lifting weights, eating enough protein, fueling your body. You have to do both of them. And this not only helps to maintain the muscle that you already have, but it also helps you to build new muscle, which is super important. Because you don't want to lose the muscle. You want to keep the muscle you have, but you also want to build more muscle because, as I mentioned, you're losing muscle at a pretty quick rate once you hit your 30s and 40s. And strength training is very important in perimenopause and postmenopause because it helps counteract the hormonal changes that accelerate muscle loss. It also helps with bone health, reducing the risk of osteoporosis. And it plays a role in insulin sensitivity, which helps regulate blood sugar and can support weight loss. We become more insulin sensitive we become more insulin resistant as we age, and that is why we gain the weight that we can't get rid of. So when you build the muscle, it's going to help with that, okay? So let's talk about what happens when we don't eat enough protein. So protein is the building block of muscle, right? I've said that about 3 times now, so hopefully that's getting into your head. Our muscles are constantly being broken down and rebuilt in a process called muscle protein turnover. For this process to work efficiently, we need a constant supply of amino acids from dietary protein. When we don't eat enough protein, our muscles don't rebuild as effectively, and over time we lose muscle mass. This is a big issue because muscle is metabolically active tissue, meaning it burns calories even when you're at rest. Yes, this means you burn more calories by doing nothing when you have more muscle. So what a great reason to build muscle, right? You're going to burn calories sitting on your booty. Now, this isn't a reason to not do anything, but because you got to build the muscle. Another bonus to having more muscle is that it increases our resting metabolic rate, which helps with losing weight. So if you're struggling to lose weight, you need to look at how much muscle you have, or maybe you've lost, and building more muscle. On top of that, when you're not consuming enough protein, your metabolism slows down, you feel weak, you struggle to maintain or gain muscle, and this is why getting enough protein is especially important when you're in your menopausal years. Okay? These two, you can see, they go hand in hand all throughout this podcast. And not only that, but when you eat more protein, you're going to feel more satiated throughout your day, which means you're going to have less cravings, and less cravings means less weight gain. So it's a win overall. This is the one thing that I find that when I'm working with clients is when I have them start to eat more protein, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. I'm like, that is a good thing. That's a good thing, right? Okay, so let's talk about how much protein you should be eating. So the amount of protein we need depends on a few different things. So your age, your activity level, and your goals, like what you're trying to achieve. But a good baseline that I feel that you can just go by is approximately 0.75 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. And this can vary person to person. I actually do well with more protein than that. Some may not, because it might be a little harder on their digestion. And if that is so, we'll add some enzymes. We'll slowly bump the protein up. But you have to find what works for you. But because most women are consuming around 65 to 70 grams, which is nearly not enough. I mean, I think you need to be hitting about a minimum of 100, okay? So 60 to 75 is just not enough to get you the results that you need. So to put the amount of protein into perspective, if you weigh 170 pounds, you would need 127 to 170 grams of protein per day. And if this seems like a lot, start with, like I said, that minimum of 100. Hit 100. And then slowly add more as your body adjusts to it, okay? And maybe you'll find that sweet spot, but you have to at least get a minimum of 100. And like I said, if you need to, take some enzymes to help the body digest the protein as you're slowly bumping it up. And again, this may seem like a lot, especially if you're someone who's only eating about 75 grams of protein. You're like, how am I going to get 30 more grams? I'm struggling to get what I am. But there are very simple ways, and I'm going to talk about that later on, to help you to get more protein. Here's the thing. This may be the easiest struggle that you go through, right? Like adding more protein is not, for me, I guess, because I love food. So being able to eat more food is easier for me. But if you think about it in the fact that it's necessary to support and build your muscle mass, it's important for hormone production, and to keep you healthy as you age, maybe you wouldn't look at it so much as being something that's hard to do, right? If you're active and lifting weights, which you should be at least 3 times, 2 to 3 times a week. If you want to do 4, great. Your protein may need to be a little bit higher. As your exercise increases, the demand for protein to rebuild and build the muscle needs to be a little bit more. So on the other hand, if you're not very active, you may be able to maintain a little bit of lower protein, but still you want to get about that lower end, at least a minimum of 100 grams. And here's the thing. I want you to be active anyway. So there should be no excuse, right? You should be moving. You should be lifting the weights because it's so important in those menopausal years. So how do you know if you're actually getting enough protein? Well, you may not like this answer, but this is what I make my clients do. You need to track it. You're not going to be able to guess. You're not going to be able to just say, I feel like I'm eating enough protein, because you just can't, right? So you have to at least write it down and add it up, or put it in an app. It's so much easier to do it in a tracking app because you cannot guess. Some days I feel like I've eaten so much protein, I look and I'm about 50 grams lower than what I need. So you just have to figure it out. And doesn't mean that you have to do this forever, but maybe do it for a week. Track it. See where your protein is. Be like, oh, I'm only hitting about 85 grams. So I need about 20 to 30, depending on what your goals are, more grams. How can I get that in? And then track to make sure that you hit those goals, right? And then you'll get an idea of how your body should feel, how it feels when it gets the right amount of protein, how much stronger you feel in your workouts and things like that. So let's talk about some signs that to tell you that you're not eating enough protein. So, you're thinking, oh, I must be eating enough protein. Well, If you are feeling weak, more tired than usual, when you go to lift, you don't have the energy, you feel like you can't lift as much, your energies are low, your body isn't recovering well after exercise, that could be a sign that your protein intake isn't meeting your needs. So you need to eat more protein. You might also be experiencing cravings like I talked about, or you're more hungry, especially for the carbs. Because your body, when it's hungry, it's going to look for quick energy sources and it's going to want the carbs. But what are the carbs going to do? They're going to add more belly fat. So focus on the protein first. So make sure you're getting enough. And remember how I mentioned that more protein can help with cravings? Cravings and more carbs than your body needs is going to lead to weight gain, like I just mentioned. So that's a huge reason to hit your protein goals. If you're gaining weight and you're craving sugar and carbs all the time, eat more protein and that will help that. Another indicator could be muscle loss. Could be a loss of muscle tone or difficulty maintaining or building muscle. So if you're finding you're not able to build muscle, you might need to eat more protein. As I mentioned earlier, muscle mass tends to decrease with age, but it accelerates when you're not consuming enough protein. So even just eating enough protein is going to help keep your muscles from breaking down, or help you from losing muscle mass. So that itself, even if you're somebody who's not regularly working out, you hit your protein goals, you're going to be able to at least maintain that muscle. Okay? So super important. Super important. Hit your protein, hit your protein. The next thing is, everybody asks is, okay, so I know that I need to eat more protein. I know that I'm low on my protein, but I'm really struggling to get it in. Do you have any ideas? And yes, I do. So here we go. First of all, make sure that you're prioritizing protein at every single meal. Make sure protein is a part of every meal and it's the first thing on your plate. So when you go to sit down and eat, protein is the first thing on your plate. Okay? If you think about your hand and a half size of protein, I mean, you're going to want to measure this out and track it. But if you figure that much, that's a lot of protein. That is going to get you the amount you need in that meal. Okay? First thing. And by doing that, and it's actually what needs to be the first thing that goes in your mouth. So first thing on your plate, first thing in your mouth. And what this does is it helps with blood sugar balance. So focus on lean meats like chicken, turkey, fish, plant-based things like tofu, beans, and if you can tolerate dairy, some Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, string cheese. But again, if you can't tolerate dairy, don't use those because it's going to cause inflammation and you're going to get bloated. You're not going to see that stomach go down and you're not going to feel good. Okay, so that's the first thing. Eggs. Most people can do eggs. There's some people that can't, but eggs are very, very good source of protein. So you can make scrambled eggs. You can do like scrambles with vegetables. You can do frittatas. You can do omelets. You can add you can just eat plain old hard-boiled eggs. You can add hard-boiled eggs to your salad. Or you can make egg muffins. This is, for as long as I've been doing challenges and stuff, I've always told my clients, if you're struggling to get breakfast in the morning, make the egg muffins. All it is doing some scrambled eggs in a bowl with some vegetables, maybe throw in some bacon or some sausage or something, put them in the muffin tins, bake them, and you have a bunch of easy protein breakfast, or even as a snack because you have lots of protein, right? So make those. They sit in the fridge for a couple days, and you would want to probably eat 3 of them to get enough protein in that meal. So eggs. If you can eat eggs, use them. I do in my eggs in the morning, I always do 1 or 2 eggs, now that eggs are so expensive, right? But usually I do 2 full eggs and then I'll do egg whites as well because the egg whites will bump up my protein without adding more fats. So that's just something to keep in mind too, if you're watching your fats. You can use Greek yogurt or cottage cheese as a base, swapping it out for making it like smoothies, dips, or even savory dishes. Greek yogurt. This is why I tell my clients, don't just go for all the regular yogurt, because Greek yogurt has twice the amount of protein as regular yogurt, a lot less sugar. Okay? If you do cottage cheese, it's rich in casein protein, which digests slowly, which keeps you full longer. They also have some lactose-free cottage cheese. I just gave it a try because I really love and miss cottage cheese. And I think I overconsumed it because it made me feel like the next morning I barely could bend my fingers. I couldn't get my rings off. Oh, I was so sad because I really love it. And I can't do Greek yogurt as much as I'd love to. I just can't do dairy. But I can do almond. There's almond yogurt. There's coconut yogurt, but those aren't as high in protein as the Greek yogurt. Okay. You could use edamame or chickpea pasta. We just found this edamame pasta and it is absolutely delicious. We found it at Costco and it tastes so good. And it's so much higher in protein than like gluten-free pasta or regular pasta. So look for edamame or chickpea pasta. You can also do quinoa or lentils. These are also higher protein carbs that you can use. So when you're adding your carbs, quinoa, lentils, they're going to give you more protein even while adding your carbs. So another good way to make sure that you're getting enough protein. All right, snack on protein. So have a mid-afternoon snack. I tell my clients 3 meals, mid-afternoon snack. Instead of cookies or chips, things like that, do the hard-boiled eggs, maybe some beef jerky, maybe some hummus. Hummus is a chickpea, so it's got more protein and some vegetables. Or a protein shake. Seriously, the protein shake is the easiest way to get your protein up. Now here's what I want to say. Don't go for the ones, the easy grab in the convenience store or the grocery stores because they have junk in them. They're full of chemicals, they have artificial sweeteners, they are not good. When you get a good quality protein powder that's clean, you're going to get anywhere from 20 to 25 grams of protein. That is a huge amount. If you have to get 100, you only have to get 20 or 75 more grams of protein, right? Easy way to bump up your protein. You can also do a collagen protein. That's going to have a little less protein than the whey protein. But again, take a scoop of protein powder that's going to have 20 to 25 grams, put it in a shaker bottle with some water or some almond milk, shake it up. That is the easiest way to bump up your protein. If you find that at the end of your day, you're low on protein, protein shake. Snack, put it in protein shake. I would rather you always first do whole foods. Obviously, you always want to eat whole foods, not the convenience type. But if you're struggling and you really are struggling to get your protein, use the protein powder. I have a client that just started doing that regularly. She's hitting her protein like this every single day, and she's starting to see the weight come off, okay? So you have to hit your protein, and it's very easy and convenient. You can, I actually have, it's like a little baby food plastic container. It has 4 or 5 different spots. You can put protein in each one of them. Have it in your car. Keep it in your purse, or put a little baggie in your purse. And you can put it in your water bottle with some water. I mean, you probably are going to want to rinse it out well when you drink more water, but easy. If you're on the go and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to eat, I need something, you always want to choose protein. All right, there's my rant about protein powders. Like, I find that sometimes the simplest things are the hardest thing for us to do, but that is the best way to get your protein up, okay? You can also use protein powder in your smoothies. Put it on your yogurt. Put it in your oatmeal. Even if you're making some cookies or something like that. Because if you think of oatmeal as all carbs, you need some protein to balance the blood sugar. Throw some protein powder in. So easy. Easy way to get that protein up, okay? This is something I've never used, but I've heard of it. So I've heard of it and I've heard it being used this way. Nutritional yeast. It is a deactivated yeast that has a cheesy and nutty flavor. It's packed with protein and B vitamins, make it a great addition to anything. You can throw it on your vegetables. You can throw it on your salad. You can throw it on your pasta. You can put it on whatever. And you can also make some dairy-free cheesy sauces. I'm sure you could just look that up on Google, right? So that's another way to add protein. I'm going to go back to this, what I said from the very beginning. How do you hit your protein? You have to track. Okay, so a simple way to make sure, and the most effective way, is to track your foods. So you can use an app like MyFitnessPal is a good one. Macros First is a good one because you can set your macros to log your meals and see how much protein you're actually consuming. This is going to make sure that you are hitting your protein goals every single day. Keep in mind that it's not all about the protein. Protein needs to be balanced with the healthy fats and the carbohydrates. That is a complete meal that's going to make your body feel the best. It's going to help to It's necessary for hormone balance, energy, muscle repair, all the things. Right? You need all of the things, but most of us are getting enough carbohydrates and most of us are getting enough fats. We are not getting enough protein. So that needs to be the focus where you're going. All right. That's all I have today. I hope this helps you to understand just how important and essential nutrition that protein is, especially if you are in perimenopause or postmenopausal, and if you're struggling to lose weight. It helps you to maintain the muscle mass, to support your hormone balance, to boost your metabolism, and not only that, but it keeps you from gaining weight as you're losing muscle. But it also helps you lose weight. So, eat your protein. If you have any questions, as always, just reach out to me on social media, Facebook or Instagram. I'm on them both. And please hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends. The more women that know this, the longer and healthier lives they can live. So I appreciate you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. I hope this episode today resonated with you, and if it did, I would love for you to share it on your stories and tag me on Instagram or Facebook. A review would be appreciated too. Your reviews and shares not only help us to grow, but they give other women who are struggling through their menopausal years hope that they don't have to continue living the way that they do. Your questions and experiences are also so helpful in giving me subjects to talk about. So feel free to reach out to me anytime on Facebook or Instagram with anything. I would love to help.